Good afternoon, my friends. Today we're going to quickly talk about the Army's new combat vehicle, the M10 Booker, which is named after a couple of guys with balls made of steel the size of Texas. Pretty interesting vehicle. Again, this is the Army's first new major combat vehicle in over 2 decades, known as the M10 Booker combat vehicle, named after fallen soldiers killed in the Iraq War and World War II, which we're going to talk about these guys at the end of the video. It's a light tank-like assault weapon, not a tank, that had been previously known as the Mobile Protected Firepower Ground Combat Vehicle. I'm quite glad that they changed the name. The name honors Staff Sergeant Stephen A. Booker, who received the Distinguished Service Cross for life-saving valor in 2003 Iraq invasion. His story is pretty wild. We're going to, again, cover that. And Private Robert D. Booker in 1943. Now, the Army expects to stand up its first M10 battalions to conduct initial operations testing in late 2024 or early 2025. The Army intends to build M10 battalions into its light infantry brigade combat teams, including its airborne units. However, the vehicle cannot be airdropped. It can be transported, however, of course, by air. 2 of them fit inside a C-17 transport jet. Though the M10 looks much like an M1 Abrams main battle tank, the Army decided against classifying it as a tank. Still built by General Dynamics, but while sharing many of the same aspects of the Abrams, still manned by a 4-man tanker crew in the cockpit, nearly identical, sports a heavy 105mm direct fire cannon like the older models of the Abrams. The newest version of the Abrams tanks have a 120mm main gun. The Army's M1A2 SEP V3 weighs 74 tons, while the M10 Booker is clocking in at 42 tons, and the latest Abram costs about $24 million per tank, and the M10 is going to cost roughly $13 million per vehicle, which includes spare parts, the cost of field and train for the new weapons, etc. So it should be pretty interesting to see this thing. I don't really know what role this is going to have on the battlefield. I think they're going to have to reassess a lot of capabilities and tactics, usefulness based off the war in Ukraine. That should give them a lot of pointers of how to actually deploy this thing effectively. Now, on to the guys it was named after. Army Staff Sergeant Stephen A. Booker, U.S. Army. When his tank unit came under fire during the rapid into Iraq's capital, Booker immediately reacted. According to the award citation, as he communicated the situation with his commanders, he returned fire on a machine gun mounted on his Abrams tank and reassured his crews that they would make it to their objective. Again, his tank unit came under fire during the raid into Iraq's capital, and apparently they were cut off. So when both him and his crew's machine guns malfunctioned, Booker, with total disregard for his personal safety, exposed himself by lying in a prone position on top of the tank's turret, and he apparently started engaging enemy forces with his personal weapon at this point. Now, while completely exposed, he effectively protected his platoon's flank and delivered accurate information to his command during a critical and vulnerable point of the battle. From that exposed position, he was somehow able to destroy an enemy vehicle before the troops inside could attack his platoon, and he continued to fire on enemy forces while the tank rolled through the fight for nearly 5 miles. He laid on top of this turret for 5 freaking miles in the capital until he was mortally wounded, unfortunately. So that was the first gentleman. The second one it's named after, the M10 Booker, is Private Robert D. Booker. Private Booker was awarded the nation's highest military honor about a year after his April 9th, 1943 death while engaged with enemy forces. Now, Booker carried a light machine gun and a box of ammunition over 200 yards of open ground to set up a fighting position. He continued to advance despite 2 enemy machine guns and several mortars, using him as individual target practice. As he neared his chosen fighting position, enemy artillery began to fall, and he immediately commenced firing on enemy machine gun positions. He was wounded, continued to fight, destroyed 1 machine gun position before he was struck again, suffering the wound that would kill him. Now, his initiative and courage against insurmountable odds are an example of the highest standard of self-sacrifice and fidelity to duty. So, pretty cool stuff. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. It'll really help me out. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date, in the know, in the loop. Leave a comment down below if you guys think this vehicle's pretty cool, or let me know in the comments if you don't see where this is going to be useful. Let me know. Catch you guys in the next one.